Hi everybody and welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Flynn and I'm joined once again by Ramesh Harikrishnasamy. How are you doing, Ramesh?
I'm doing good. How are you, Flynn?
I'm really well, thank you. And hello to everybody in chat. We'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we are streaming from today and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. This is part two of a two-part series, but don't worry if you missed out on Tuesday's session because we're going to do a bit of a recap to give you an idea of how we got where we are, and there's going to be lots of exciting stuff coming, including music. Let's kick the music in. If you're watching over on YouTube, jump over to behance.net/live if you want to say hello, ask questions, how we're going. But we'll keep an eye on the YouTube chat anyway, because there might be a few people over there today. But yeah, how have you been the last 48 hours since the last stream?
Busy with work and some of my side projects, but yeah, always get excited when it comes to Photoshop.
Yeah, your passion for what you do is very infectious. We had a great stream on Tuesday. Lots of people blown away by a lot of your processes. I mean, we talked about color lookup. I mean, the tool presets again just reminded me, oh my gosh, I need to invest a little bit of time and get my layout sorted for all the things that I do. And I'm sure we'll touch on some of those things today. But should we jump straight into the recap?
Yes. So if you're wondering what are we working on for today, it's like a follow-up from the previous episode. So this is the mood board that I have. Literally, this is like one of my favorite movies, right? It's called The Legends of the Guardians. Again, directed by Zack Snyder. It's pretty dark. It's not like the typical animation movie, colorful, It's pretty dark. And as you can see, we are trying to recreate one of the characters, but using our own props, right? Again, no 3D, 100% Photoshop, using images that I have. Literally, we imported in an owl, and then we worked on the colors and stuff like that. I can quickly show you guys how it looks like. For example, you can see how I applied the shadows on the owl, and then you can see how we added also a color lookup. As you can see, background changes. Right, all this were added in Photoshop again to recreate a scene out of that movie. The previous episode we only managed to get it done at this stage where I managed to add in the scroll. And if you're wondering what scroll is this, it's an important scroll that need to be delivered to the king. So this is like the guardian of the land. So he managed to grab this from the bad guy. Obviously, the bad guys are the bad owls.
Yeah.
So yeah. And we're going to work on the, for today, we're going to work on the scroll and also the helmet is the highlight for today. So let's get started.
Very cool. Yeah, I particularly the halo effect that you created around the owl, like really like pops it, like makes it pop out, but also makes it like go, like merge with the whole imagery. I think that was such a like important step to have them merge. And as you were saying on Tuesday, trying to make it seem as if people can't really tell whether it's real or whether it's been photoshopped. So yeah, I think that's a really great like benchmark to go for when you're doing this kind of work.
True, because that's the only way for you to challenge yourself. If not, you'll be just like, oh, whatever, it's just a photo manipulation. You don't want to just end up just like that, right? You want to be good at what you want to do. You want to make sure that it looks real as possible. So let's get started. So in our previous episode, I only managed to create the scroll, but without adding any effects yet. So in this, we're going to quickly do that effect. So since I already placed a scroll, and as you can see, I duplicated right on top to create the sort of like a dark effect around the scroll. And now I'm going to slowly remove the lines around it, as I said earlier in my previous episode, where you literally can do this in one click of a button. All you have to do is click on the scroll, on the masking, go to filter, other, and click on minimum. Once you click that, you get to see the line is now gone, right? Obviously, it's depending on the radius of the outline. So if I were to increase the radius, the more thing will get masked out. So for me, just one will work, 1 pixel.
Do you often find that it's about one pixel in this process?
Yeah, most of the time it's just 1 pixel, because when you select subject, there will be some areas that still have this white edges around it, but most of the time it's just 1 pixel. Very rarely I use 2.
Cool.
So I'm gonna go in
because I noticed in the other one, I noticed with I think it was the owl, it was 1 pixel as well. It was about 1 pixel too. So
exactly, yeah. So it depends. If you if you manually select a subject and then you still find this like a more or less 2 pixels, then you want to use the 2 pixel radius. So yeah, other than that, 1 pixel should work. So I'm going to do some cleanup on the scroll. So again, I'm gonna just switch to B, clicking on the masking area, which is the black one, and then go in here, and I'm gonna just erase the inner part. Again, I like to make sure that it's clean as possible. So again, very detail-oriented person. I think it's important to have this attitude to, like I said, it's always about making sure it's your creation. At the end of the day, it should speak you. Like for example, if this is done by me, it should have that quality. So whatever work that we do should reflect you, right? So if I'm doing this, it's because, again, I love what I do. So I just want to make sure that it looks clean and presentable. Cool, that works. And I'm going to add in some shading on top of that. So creating new layer on top. Let's call this shadow. Okay, switch to B for brush. And I am going to color pick black. So press on D to get the color palette black and white. From normal, up here, go choose soft light. And then, again, lighting is super important. Now that I said the light comes from top, obviously the bottom part of the scroll has to be slightly darkened. So that's what I'm doing right now. Always have in your back of your mind where the light comes from so that it guides you through, so that you know what you're working on rather than simply adding in lightings from here and there. So again, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that it looks real. So these are the process for that one. So I'm adding some dark shadows around it. The lighting on the scroll is more or less perfect already, so I don't have to touch up so much. There you go, looks good. And very, very important, now the step, I know there's a chain that's hang around the scroll. We're gonna fix that as the last part, because we're gonna concentrate on the scroll and the helmet. And then the last, if you have a few minutes left, we can work on the chain.
Okay, cool.
Again,
because in the original image, there was a chain that was hanging down.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, because it wasn't like the angle. You didn't like the angle or something?
Yeah, correct. Because, you know, it's moving forward. So you know how the chain is with the speed and the wind, right? Flows at the back. So it's supposed to swing to the back, but this is swing to the front, so which is not right. So we're gonna use the method of a puppet warp. So that I'm gonna apply on the leg of the owl. I'll show you guys how it's done. For example, even the leg is not right here because it's supposed to hold tight of the scroll. So we're gonna fix that in a minute. In order to do that, I need to select the owl, right? So as you can see, there's so many different settings or features that we added, dark, shadow, until the brightness. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to select the whole layer of adjustment that we've done for the owl and convert this to smart object, because we're going to do a puppet wrap. So you cannot simply use, like I said, you cannot simply edit on the owl because you're going to affect every other layer. So we're going to quickly convert this smart object. Let's call this owl. And here's also one of my favorite feature. Again, like I said, puppet wrap here. And then you're going to, this is basically to move things around. Like for example, if I don't like the way the wings are right now, I can even move it without affecting any other areas. Again, I can always lock things. Like for example, the head, I'm okay with it, but not the wings. I can adjust that. But for now, the wings are perfect. The head is perfect, except for the leg, right? So the feet, we're gonna do some adjustments. So here's what I'm gonna do. I am going to lock. So I'm gonna pin this. Basically, it's an area where I don't want things to move, right? Later, I'll show a quick demo how this works. For example, I'm gonna lock every part of the owl's body to say that I am not going to move any of this except for the leg. So here you go, done. Okay, see what happens if I move this. Any other part of the body will never move because I am controlling this using the pin. And I am, again, like I said, the nail supposed to be in one of the hole. Again, I need to imagine this, right? This is happening in front of my eyes. So I know that the owl literally will slot in the nail into one of the hole, and this one into this hole. And yeah.
That's
And
great.
with this-
I love that you're going to the level of, well, if the owl was picking it up, it'd probably want to navigate, you know, its claws right into these holes there to actually be able to hold it safely.
Yeah. So always use that imagination. Again, whatever we're working on, try to imagine you are there and everything will look real as possible. There you go. That looks good. And now, like I said earlier, how the puppet work is that if you select any of this, if I don't want any of this pin, you just press on Alt, alternate, so it will remove. And now if I want to swing this, I can. And if I want to put a pin in there and I remove this too, see what happens. I can move this wing, right? Maybe I want to lock the face and then I can move things around. But again, I am happy with the other part of the body. So I'm going to just deselect this and click apply. Everything looks good. And now to do some shading on the scroll so that it looks good.
And so just on the puppet warp, so does it need to be a smart object to apply puppet warp?
You can use any other like object, a flat image. But if I'm not mistaken, I don't think so. There will be a setting for puppet, right? Like you can't undo things.
Right.
Like for example, it's just one time off. So smart object will have, like for example, if you want to undo this, all you have to do is just click on the eyes. You can see the leg, right? There you go. So yeah, this is a good thing about smart object. Again, I love having smart object in my thing because I know there are things, if I would needed the original file back, I know I can always double click on this and I can get back the original file. As you double click on smart object, this is the original file, right? Nothing is erased and I can always reuse this if I want in the future. Yeah.
That's great. So it's like a really like non-destructive way to work.
Correct. That's like number one rule in Photoshop. Never rasterize your artwork. So now I'm going to add some shadings on the scroll because the fit is right on top of it, right? So I'm going to create a new layer. Let's call this owl's feet. Okay, I am going to switch my brush to B. Again, you don't have to change anything. You just remain normal in terms of like the transparency. I'm gonna just shrink my brush a little smaller. Again, I'm adding the shadow right at the back of the feet here. And as you can see, there's also a nail that's pointing out like that. Maybe I want to remove the nail because again, imagining it is grabbing from the back, right? So what I can do is I can go to the owl, smart object, I mask it, and I'll erase the nail out because it's probably grabbing it from the back.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I'm going to go back to the shadow part. I'm going to do a bit more shadowing there. Here. Okay, if it's too intense, what I can do is I can always reduce it a bit. There you go, it looks good. And I am happy with that one. Maybe the color is a bit too intense for the scroll because I want to match it back slightly to the overall color. What I can do is I can always create a new layer, call this hue and saturation. Again, everything is masked under the scroll. I'll reduce the saturation. Okay, that should work. Again, without it, you can see how it looks like. It's a bit too intense, the color. So again, reducing it. Because as you can see, everything looks slightly desaturated. So I want to maintain that. Everything looks good. I think it's time to add the helmet.
The helmet.
It's one of my favorite part. Okay. I think in our previous episode, I did share that. Okay, this in case you're wondering what are the stock images we use so far, we use the owl, we use the ankle part here, we use the scroll, the sky as the background. And previous episode, I did show that there's one helmet, but I managed to find another one that has quite a nice pattern around it. So we're going to use that. And the ring, I have some ideas about that one, but we will maintain that later. Probably we use that when we need it. But for now, Viking King helmet, right, is something that we're going to use. And if you're wondering how I'm going to do that, in traditional way, people probably will think like, oh, I know what you're gonna do. You're gonna just select mask, like select the subject, and then you're gonna mask it, and then you're gonna bring this in there, and then resize. Trust me, I don't think so. 45 minutes is enough for me in this show to do that. So what I'm going to do is my way, where again, you don't have to spend so much of time to do that. It's because that helmet was not meant for an owl, because it's for a human head.
Right.
What I'm going to do now is I am going to create a new layer, and then I'm going to take my pen tool, and again, there are many different settings under pen tool. Just choose the first one, the pen tool, and I am going to create a masking area.
Okay.
This is literally to guide me through to say that where the mask should be. Again, at the back of my head, I already have a design. So I'm trying to implement the design. So I'm going to do this like this. Again, don't worry if it's not perfect. We can always adjust it later. So I'm literally creating the mask shape first. Okay, like this, like that. Again, I'm not using any tablets. I'm using trackpad. So like that. So I kind of already have the shape. Well, it's not that bad. Again, I don't have to do much adjustment. What I'm going to do is just move this around here. Okay, I kind of like this one. And the next process is literally bringing in the helmet and masking it and resizing it according to the pattern that I want. Because it already has this texture in it, I don't have to do anything else. Like for example, it already have the shape and everything in there.
Right. Okay.
I don't have to spend so much of time moving things around, right? So these are the things that I discovered. Like literally will save so much of my time. And okay, we're gonna work on the shadowing part right after this. Of course, we need to do the other part of the face. Again, I'm going to press P for pen tool. Again, at the back of my head, I already know how the perspective is. So again, I am just creating based on what I think it should look like until here, and then move it up back. This
is such a different approach to what I expected.
I think a lot of people are wondering, probably going to use a different way, but no, this is the only way I think that might work. And if you're thinking that it's not smooth or whatever, you don't have to worry, because under P, which is pen tool, you have the cursive pen tool here. So by just clicking on the shape, what you can do is you can move things around, right? Like for example, I am going to create the path. Let me go in here. Or what I'm going to do is another way. Just mask it and use your polygonal tool to literally cut the area that you don't need. So for example, it's not cursive enough. So what I can do is I can just erase that out. Oh, I still have the pen tool over there. Here you go. I was clicking on the wrong area. 1 second. Okay, here. So here. There you go. So this curve tool here, you can adjust it. If it's not cursive enough. Right, for example, here I can move things around like this and like this. This is perfect. Here I can have a bit of round shapes. Okay, that's okay. And I'm going to adjust this, push this little up. There you go. And if you're wondering how to create, do I bring back the helmet again? No, all you have to do is just duplicate this helmet that we created earlier, bring that down and mask it. And then move your helmet to get the pattern that you want. Boom, you're done. Right, so, and you're wondering, okay, Ramesh, that looks okay, but it looks flat, obviously, because we haven't created the shadings yet. And that's what we're gonna do now. Right on top here, these are the helmet. Like for example, this is the shape, this is the Viking helmet, the second one, and the helmet. So we're gonna group this and call this helmet. And time to do a little shading work. Create a new layer right on top. Let's call this shadow. Again, lighting is super important. Switch to B, which is brush. Make sure your color is black. So you're gonna switch this to black. Go in here, because you know how helmets are, like Vikings ones, like if there's you should have some sort of like a bevel looking shape around it.
Right.
So I'm gonna create that. Look like a 3D, right? So I'm gonna create literally just brushing over right at the edge, because I know that the lighting is coming from the top. I'm gonna leave the rest of the lighting just like this, and then here.
And you keep the flow on the brush fairly low when doing this sort of thing, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't want to be too intense. Again, I will do a color adjustment later. So that looks good. Like for example, you can already see that it's a bit like 3D-ish, right? Because without the shadow, it's flat. And that's that. And I'm gonna do some color adjustment, because you can see, right? Like the colors doesn't match. Like this is a bit silverish and this is gold, and you wanna fix that. So I will create a new layer called color balance. Again, mask it so that you don't want to affect any other layers. And I am going to slowly move this to red and increase the yellow. Okay, there you go. You can see how it's coming along. Great. I'm gonna zoom in so that we see the difference. I'm gonna increase the yellow. Perfect, it's matching the rest. Okay, this is good. So I am going to close this, and we will do more color adjustment to this. What I'm going to do now is I am gonna add more props into the head of this owl. I'm gonna go right at the back of the helmet, create new layer. Again, using pen tool again. Make sure you are the first one, and I am going to start from the edge here and slowly.
And as you're doing that, I'll just mention, I always love these streams, so I just sit here as the worst host ever because I'm just sitting there staring, watching you. It's like a tutorial. I'm always like waiting to see what happens next. But if you in chat, I know we've had a bunch of new people join us since we've started. So if you are in chat and you have any questions about what's happening on the screen, or any questions in general, just drop them in chat. We're here to answer your questions as well as we're going along. So feel free to say hello and ask any questions that you have while Ramesh is doing his magic.
Okay, so let me quickly start again. So we were at the path shape. We shouldn't do that. We should change to shape so that I can create back how I created the helmet. So we're gonna do this now very quickly. Okay, let me undo this. Okay, there you go, like this. I am literally creating the shape of the helmet at the back here, because I think it would be nice to have a combo of a steel looking helmet plus a leather looking helmet. So I'm literally creating that like this. Again, I'm doing under the first props that we added as a helmet so that everything else is hidden. There you go. Perfect. I think that's it. Okay, so since the shape is already like this, kind of happy with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the leather helmet. And
okay, helmet number 2.
Helmet number 2. And I am going to mask it and switch the helmet to this side horizontally, because so that it fits the head of the owl like this. As you can see, everything is looking good so far. Again, I am trying to align based on the alignment of the helmet. Increase the size.
This is cool. I don't think I saw the leather helmet on Tuesday when you kind of previewed. So is that something that you came up with, you wanted to add in, and why did you do that?
Okay, because I think it would be nice to, like for example, previously, these are the things that we have, like these are the props. As you can see, I didn't notice the leather at the back. Right? There's actually a very nice combo, and they actually have it in all over their props. And I think it would be nice to have that here. So that's the reason why I added it.
Very cool.
And I'm going to do slight little adjustment so that it looks slightly bigger, like this, maybe like that, like this. Again, trying to follow the shape of the owl. And I also have this one. I think that might work. Okay, so now we're going to work on the color adjustment of the leather. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer called brightness and contrast. I'm going to darken the helmet like this. Again, I'm trying, again, at the back of my head, I have a lighting fix in my head. So based on that, brightness, decrease it, and then go back to the masking area, switch to B, which is brush. Again, I know the lighting is coming from the top. I'm going to reduce the flow, and voila, just exactly how we did the wings, the side of the wings to be slightly brighter. I'm going to create that lighting here, and the remaining part will be darkened.
Great. So it'll just help like add it into the image, make it seem more part of the image, and also like play with the light like you've done with everything else.
Correct.
Very cool. It's like a little kind of shimmer of light.
Yeah. So see, without that, right? If I remove, let's say from the zoom out version, right? If I remove the brightness, see what happens. Everything look flat, which is not right. Because of the wing, because the wings is here, the lighting comes from the back, you know this part should be darkened. So that's the reason why I added first the brightness and contrast, so that it creates the darkness first, and then I find the brighter spots. That should work. Again, I am going to create a new layer right at the bottom and call this shadow. I need to make some part of the head, the helmet to be darkened slightly. So I'm going to do this because I know this is the wing, and like for example, this is the wing, and the light should just be here, right? So this part is super important to be darkened. So I am going to achieve that by just having a shadow there and adding shadow until here, because without shadows and lights, everything will look flat. And I'm going to show that demo again. See, flat, adding shadows and brightness, everything looks good. So that's that. And I am going to add more effects. I think it would be nice to change some colors on the helmet. What I'm going to do now is I am going to bring in my second stock image, this one. So this would be nice to add. As you can see, there's a stitches, right? I don't know. I think it would be nice to have some sort of like a gold plated thing right on top of it, rather than have the stitches. Again, it's all based on your imagination. So what I'm going to do that is right on top of the helmet here, I am going to first create the shape like I always do. Press on P, and I am going to create the shape like this, and it stops here, and then it comes back in here, and it stops here.
So in some of your reference photos, you can see they have the helmet, and then they have like this kind of ornate thing popping out the top, like a bit of kind of decoration.
Yeah. We can achieve that if we want to, but I'm looking at the time right now.
Yeah, that's right. We only have another 25 minutes left. So
yeah, so that's one thing. So again, it's always nice to have this pressure, so that it helps the brain to think way faster and more creatively. Like for example, okay, what is the shortcut to do this, right? I enjoy this kind of pressure. I mean, this is something that I always set on time on for my work as well. I know I need to work on this only for, let's say, average 4 hours per artwork. If not, like I said, I think I did mention this in last year's series before, that you are just sitting there making sure everything must look perfect, which you will never get there, but you'll try harder to make it look good. So yeah, that's what matters. Okay, so I kind of like this, and I'm going to bring in the ring here, and I'm going to first put on the shape number 4. Again, you are in control, and you can place the ring just like this, but you know there's something wrong with the, as you can see on the masking area, right? You can see how the shape of the ring is. It is the wrong part.
Like
so I can always
the curve is a bit off.
Yeah. So you can just flip horizontally, And you can do this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like this. And then I am going to just duplicate that very quickly and put it on shape number 5, which is the side, and bring that lower. There you go. Because see, now that I've added this, right? Without this, the stitches just doesn't give me the wow effect, right? So by adding this gold and stuff, it gives me an extra oomph. So I am going to do a bit of adjustment to this shape here. I kind of don't like this part here, so I am going to do some adjustment where I'm going to remove this by just masking it out. There you go. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to add that shading. Let's take the ring part that we added, convert this to a group, and let's call this extra. Create a new layer right on top of it.
I love that you're naming your layers as you go.
Yeah. I mean, most of the time, again, especially when you work in a group of like more than 2 or 3, you want to make sure that you name your layer. What if it's a huge project? Again, I'm working on a Legends of Guardians poster, and it need to be passed to another person who's going to fix the lighting, right? To make sure that communication works there. So I need to make sure that I name my layer, and it's also always easy to find things around.
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of like that. It gives me some sort of like a 3D effect. Okay, that's good. And I am going to adjust lighting on the extras. So I'm going to create a new layer called color balance. And here I am going to create more of the yellow light. Try to match back with the yellow light that already exists on the helmet. Perfect, this looks good. And I am going to brighten up this area. As you can see, the lighting coming from the top, right? And this part is not light up. And how to fix that? Let's go back to the helmet here. And so this is the Viking helmet. Let's create a new layer right on top of that. And let's call this light. And switch B, which is to brush, and pick a color, or you can choose like a yellow color from this gold here. And what you can do is you can just simply light up like this. Bring in the light.
So use the color picker to select that color, and then you kind of gradually bring it on the edge there. Yeah. Yes.
Because I think without it, again, you want to eliminate this thought of like, okay, like I said, the more effects you add to it, just make sure that it doesn't look too overly done. Very subtle, like you see, I just add some lightings and shadows, and that's it. I didn't do any other extra effect like sharpen it and whatever not. Again, depending what do you want. Like for example, I'm going to create another one called light as well for the other part here. And let's call this normal to screen. Again, there's a lot of difference normal and screen, because for example, for screen, it will still maintain the texture at the back. And the light, of course, you don't want to go down so much. Just a bit enough. Looks good already. I think it would be nice to add more props. And I am going to grab an image, which is the helmet again. Okay. And most of the time what happens is that if I see stuff like, for example, like this here, let me zoom in. You can see these are super cool. Like I can always use this part of the helmet and create more effects around the owl if I want to, right? For example, I can always cut this. And
how long will you spend like researching the images to use? Like, did you see that helmet and think, oh, this is great because there's lots of little elements I could use and cut up? Like, does it take a while to find the perfect one, or do you spend a lot of time in that research kind of phase?
Yeah, I do. I think that's the longest time taken. Sometimes it can go beyond the time taken to actually complete the artwork. The main thing is you need to know what are you looking for. Like there are always a tricky way to this. Like for example, what if I don't get the image that I want? Well, you use whatever you already have. Like for example, as you can see this, right? Like for example, this helmet that I just added. Do you know there's so many stuff like this I can use to create another different subject? Because there's so many things that I can use. Like for example, this part here, I can even make this as a door. Like this part here that I'm highlighting right now.
Right.
This can be a door, right? Like I said, right? It's all depending on how you think. And of course, you don't want to spend so much of time looking for the right image. Just use whatever you have. You think this is perfect because there's so many different shapes that you can use. I can even use this helmet here as a rooftop. This part here.
Right, yeah.
Right? Yeah, like a bamboo one. So it depends how you see things. It helps to train also your brain to think creatively. Oh, I can do this for this and that. But yeah, it's all you. Like for example, like I said, the mantra, practice and practice. By practicing thinking differently, critically, it will help you to accomplish whatever you want in a very short time of period. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. There's a follow-up question in chat from that. Where do you usually get your images from?
Okay, there are a few sites that I use. I use Adobe Stock. I also use depositphotos.com. So these are two favorite sites that I use.
Cool, great.
So since we have this part over here, I think it would be nice to just place it somewhere here. Because there's like I really think that I can even make this way cooler. Let it go like that. Again, I need to do a bit of masking, but that's okay. I mean, while I'm doing this at the back of my head, there are more ideas coming in, but I'm gonna stop because else I don't think so. This one half, what I think there's another 20 minutes or less we have.
Yep, 20 minutes exactly.
Okay, so I'm gonna just remove this. Again, I'm manually erasing it using my another favorite tool is polygon lasso. You can always erase it if I want to, because I don't think so. I want to make it a smart object because I know the original file is from the element. Right, all this, I'm just going around removing the items that I don't need. Basically erasing it, but rather than using brush, I'm using polygon and lasso to guide me through what are the stuff that I want to remove.
Yeah.
And sure, I don't need this. Don't need this. Here you go.
And you can be pretty rough with that kind of cutting out because it's so small, right? Like if you go like down to the pixel. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there you go. That looks good. Yeah. So probably I will add a bit more because you need the other part of the. Again, because this mask, this particular helmet, giving me so much of like ideas. I'll just add a few more here. I just need this piece here to add on to this side here. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, come here. There you go. Decrease the space. Don't worry so much of like, oh my God, I don't know if this is gonna work. Some people just stop right there. They're like, I don't think so. I can morph this, but trust me, this tool got so many different ways of getting things done. For example, I can also use the warp tool that's already here, and I can do this. Again, I need to hide the other part, right? So I'm just warping. You don't have to worry if it's blur or whatever. It's not. It's just sharpening things around. Then voila, that looks good. And I probably don't need this part here. What I'm going to do is let's remove this part. I just need the other part. There you go. That looks good. See, without it, how it looks like. Boom, right? By adding this effect, if you think it looks cooler, you might as well just add it. So yeah.
Yeah, it adds a lot to the 3D effect of it, having it kind of
yeah. And you can see the lighting somehow. Again, probably I just got lucky. Lightings, I don't have to fix so much because this light works perfectly because I know the light is coming from top. It's already brightened up for me, and the darkened area is already darkened, so I don't have to worry so much, right? And if you're wondering how can I, there are more things that you can add. For example, I know the clouds are looking good already, but in order to fix the lighting way better, what you can do is, I think I did share previously last year, you can always add a shadings around it, or you use levels to increase the levels. Like for example here, I'm going to just import levels, right? So if I just make it darker, it also gives me the mood, right? End of the day, like I said, see if you can make it real as possible. And also another things that I like to do with my photo manipulation is that I like to add in like shading of colors. Again, I have like Photoshop. If you download, you already have like tons of different gradients already added for you. What you can do is you can always try mix and match. For example, I can even bring in this color over here. And as you can see, the layer is already been added on top. What I'm going to do now is I am going group first this particular sky into one and convert it to smart object. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring in the color that I just added, which is this one, right? Even though it's just flat like this, I can always use the normal up here to do the blending mode and see what happens. I bringing in the color even more. I can even decrease the colors if I want to, but all this blending will give you a different mood. Like for example, this is saturation. You can see, even if I zoom in here, let me just zoom in here. You can see before and after, the colors are more intense.
Yeah.
Right. So these are the ways to actually create more realistic looking photo manipulations. Without it, then it's a meh. Like for example, do we have like another 10 minutes or less?
Yeah, we've got a little bit over 10 minutes.
Okay, so let me just quickly show you guys how far we have come before I miss this out, because it's super important. Let me just remove the unwanted layers.
And I'll mention as you're doing that, collapsing layers to show us kind of where we've come. It's so interesting, like how many different parts of Photoshop you've used just for this one image. Like when you popped up like levels again, just to do like little tweaks and everything, and like bringing in the preset like gradients in and darken and multiply, soft light, hard light. Like you really use everything.
I think that's the reason why people are like, oh my god, like Photoshop can do that. Yeah.
I usually expect people to kind of have, some people like I'm all about curves, or I'm all about levels, or I'm all about this, or I'm all about that. But you really kind of use everything for different situations, which is really cool to see.
Thank you. So I'm going to hide the rest of the layers to show you guys how far we have come within just 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm going to move the anchor weight. Look at the colors. The original colors are popping out. And this is the colors that we have done so far, right? Now, for example, boom, boom. There you go, the scroll. The layers, the original colors are slowly popping out. And the sky was, this was it.
Yeah.
Right? But we have come so far that we added different shapes and colors and gradients and the helmet and everything else to create this. I think it's super important for us to also always try out. Like for example, polygonal lasso is not just selecting things, it's beyond it. Like I said, only by practicing you will discover it. So yeah.
That's amazing.
So I'm gonna do a bit more color adjustment. Here is the extra 2. And let's add in some shadows here. Switch to black and yeah, looking cool. Again, if I have another half an hour, I'll probably adding more stuff on the wing, like for example, the shield over the wings. But it's the same process how I added the mask.
Yeah.
This is good. And last but not least, if you think the color can be better or from your side, again, don't worry, we always have this color lookup saving us late sunset. Like for example, you want to have a night scene, you can always use this, adjust it. And yeah, there's a crispy warm. There's also a candlelight where you can see it's actually bringing out the fade colors. Like for example, it's a little faded, which is also, there's a beauty in it. And of course, edgy amber, my favorite. So you can see how the colors looks like. I'm gonna just hide this. And so without all this color lookup, probably you will never get the color that you want, because I think it's, yeah.
Oh no, I was just going to say, are these we kind of went through this a little bit in the last stream,
so you were
just
saying?
So people are aware. are these just these color lookups? Because I feel like a lot of people don't know about this. And I've seen you do it before, like right at the end, to really dramatically change like all of the colors at the end. So is this just something that's built into Photoshop?
Yeah. Yes. It's like I said like earlier, even if this is God's gift in Photoshop, color lookup is like saving tons of time of us adjusting every single element of our props. Like for example, don't tell me I need to spend some time color correcting the owl, the scroll, because it's just wasting time. Because of the color lookup, I literally saving the time because I'm applying all over the image. Again, even if there's a bit too drastic color change that I need to edit, I can just use color balance. Just make it yellowish if I want to. But other than that, it's literally saving my time where I don't have to go in each of this element and change it. Again, you can always merge two colors if you want to. Like for example, if this is the color lookup, right? Okay, so I know this is orangey. And if you want to have dual color, you can too. That's the reason why the masking area is provided. So I can always go to the gradient. Like for example, I'm going to change the color gradient here. I will just mask out the colors that I don't want. Make sure you're black and white. And I want to maintain the yellow on the top part and a gray area at the bottom. So I can always do this. The other way around. There you go. This is actually a dual color. Only the top part is yellow, not at the bottom.
Yeah,
right?
That's really cool. So you've got like a gradient that's separating the two different color lookups. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, again, if you want to add more elements or whatever not, you can do that. But these are like stuff that we can do in Photoshop. You don't have to, I never even go to any other software and import it because it's all about exploring, and exploring is something that you need to spend time doing it so that you'll be good at it. So yeah.
Oh, it's incredible. Oh, that's fantastic. There's been so many comments in chat about this. Also lots of owl puns, which has been really great. There was a couple of questions. Grinsham, I might be pronouncing that incorrectly, asked, with photo editing, it never feels done, right? Yeah, so I guess, how do you know when you're done?
Wow. I mean, great question. When you are happy, when your intuition say, done. But make sure you yourself set a time. Again, like I said, if not, you will keep polishing it and you will never be done with it. Make sure you are okay. Again, don't do for other people. Just because you're rushing to post something on social media and you just want to get it done, don't do it. Make sure you are happy. And because you don't want to just post it up things and you go like, oh, I probably can make it way better if I have time. I mean, you have time. You just need to fix a time and stress yourself out. Like for example, I think that's the reason why a lot of youngsters were given advice, go to agencies first. Because if you go to agency, they like to rush things out, right? That's the only way for you to think way faster. And then you go to a normal 9-to-5 job, because it helps you in terms of like thinking, critical thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, and having really tight deadlines and forcing yourself to get things done quickly. Yeah, I think that's really great. There's also another question over from YouTube from Shawnee asking, which photo site did you get the helmet from? And I think you mentioned either Adobe stock,
Adobe stock, or you can
one.
Always go to depositphotos.com.
Depositphotos.com.
Yeah, okay. Depositphotos.com. Yes.
Awesome. Oh, that's really great. And also for people that want some more of Ramesh, you're doing a thing on Instagram. Do you want to give it a little plug? Because people might want to see a little bit more of you.
Yeah, sure. So again, I moved into my house like 3 years ago, but I haven't got the time to set up my own studio. So what happened is that I booked my own room. I said to my wife, this is it. This is my studio. Nobody going to touch it. I took like 6 months to actually set up my whole area of my studio to hang all my photos, my images, and it's looking good so far. I only have a bit tiny space left for me to hang a photo, and I'm going to do a virtual tour this Saturday at 11 a.m. Malaysia time. I think if Sydney time is at 1 or 2. Yep. So and you guys can see it live through my IG live.
That's awesome. I'll be there checking it out. I can't wait to see it. Thank you, Ramesh, for everything. It's fantastic. Always learn so much from watching you create, and it's incredible what you can create in such a short amount of time. And thank you everybody in chat. It's been great hanging out with you, and we'll see you next week on Adobe Live. See you, Ramesh.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.